Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Ross Kemp on Gangs.
And this is the news.
So, story number one, and it is a big one.
It's a perfect 10.
It is a perfect 10, I guess. Tye Dillinger has asked for his WWE release, so this isn't rumours, this isn't innuendo or conjecture or anything like that. It's legit. The man himself broke the news after last night's SmackDown show, and I've got my phone out because I'm going to read to you what he posted on Twitter and indeed Instagram. Before rumours begin to spread, let me set things straight ahead of time. This evening, I requested my release from WWE. In the past 5.5 years with them, I have seen and done some wonderful things that I'm very proud of and will never forget. And then he goes on to thank the company, blah, 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 talks about the producers, coaches, the people in the locker room, everyone. Wish you all the very best. Thank you from the heart, from the bottom of my heart for everything. Maybe getting ahead of himself a little bit there, given that WWE haven't exactly been forthcoming in granting these release requests.
Bye everyone, you can't leave. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Tye, you're under contract for 4 more years. Bah!
Yeah.
Interesting story, not a huge surprise. The guy's barely ever used on TV. Very talented guy. Probably a lower mid-card act, if we're being honest, albeit a very entertaining one.
And a Royal Rumble entrant.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Number 10. Got a good pop at least. Adam Wilborn, what do you think of this?
I think he's not going to be released. I think he is rather popular on social media. There's an obvious company waiting in the wings who'd probably want to sign him. And as we've seen already with WWE, I think they're just going to say, well, it's nice you want to leave, but you signed a contract and we're just going to wait it out.
Yeah, I don't see why they would let anyone go at this point. Tye is obviously, he's, let's be honest, to WWE, he's not worth a lot. He's just a guy. And he never wrestles on TV. Obviously, he's been injured recently, but he was cleared at the end of January and he just hasn't been brought back for whatever reason. I think he could be something somewhere else, though. He is very talented, he's a very smooth wrestler, he's very charismatic. Perhaps he needs to evolve beyond the Perfect 10 gimmick to truly become a proper mid-card force and not a novelty act. But yeah, WWE aren't going to let him go. Why would they? It sucks for him because he's not doing anything and he obviously wants to, but yeah, if they're not going to let Mike Bennett go, for God's sake, Mike Kanellis go, for the love of God, they're not going to let Tye Dillinger go.
Let's move on to someone else who is a legend in WWE and has been there for a long time, and who's going to be getting a WWE Championship shot at Fastlane.
Tye Dillinger, a legend.
Not quite a legend, yeah. I was sort of crowbarred that in. Sorry, mate. Although he did get super kicked by Shawn Michaels when he was called Stan.
This is true.
Anyway, yes, Kofi Kingston is getting a one-on-one WWE Championship shot against Daniel Bryan at Fastlane. It was announced last night after another stellar showing for Kofi on SmackDown. Shane McMahon came out and announced, yes, they're going to go one-on-one for the WWE Championship at Fastlane. Good.
Very good. Yes, fully deserved. I mean, personally, I would prefer if this match was happening at WrestleMania. That might still happen, you never know. But yeah, no, this is great. Kofi has taken this opportunity that probably wouldn't have arisen had Mustafa Ali not gotten himself, not been injured and ruled out of Elimination Chamber. He was awesome in that gauntlet. He was awesome in the Elimination Chamber. He was awesome again last night. It's fully deserved. This is what people talk about when they talk about the brass ring. Now, these opportunities don't normally exist. The brass ring is usually a fallacy, but Kofi has just gone in there, worked really hard. The company have taken notice of what he's done, and now they've awarded him with a title shot. The match is going to be awesome.
I've got a question that relates to this, but I'm going to save that for our Q&A because one of our fans has sent it to us regarding the result of that match. But Kofi said in a post-match interview, I can't make any guarantees, but what I said before is when you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I've been ready for a long time. 11 years I've been waiting for opportunities like this. Words can't even describe how hyped I am right now. All my life, all I've ever wanted was a shot, a chance. And finally at Fastlane, I'm going to get that chance one more time, and I can't wait. I can't wait either.
Yeah, it's just going to be a fun, great, awesome, technical match. Daniel Bryan is proven himself since returning to be a genius at laying matches out. Kofi Kingston is a phenomenal athlete, a veteran, a charismatic performer, a guy who really, really, really connects. I don't see, unless they do some kind of stupid finish, I don't see how this match could be anything less than incredible.
And very quickly, another championship match was announced last night on SmackDown for Fastlane. It is going to be a rematch between the Usos and The Miz and Shane McMahon for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships.
And you would presume, given the results on that show, that they might book Mandy Rose versus Asuka as well.
Potentially,
Interesting set of matches there. We'll see how they pan out. Speaking of things that pan out, so The Young Bucks, Cody, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, they've all gone off and they're doing their AEW thing. Now, before AEW became a thing, WWE offered each of these men a contract. Now, part of that pitch, interestingly, we've learned today via good old Shiggity Shagger Dave on his Wrestling Observer Big Banter News radio show. He claims that WWE pitched to those guys an invasion angle.
Oh, that never has gone wrong before, has it?
Yeah, that worked so well for them in the past. So the idea would have been, obviously, Cody, the Bucks, Kenny, and Hangman Page invading Raw or SmackDown, doing things. There were no real further details added on to that. It was just, this was the idea for them coming in. Now that's quite interesting, given that Hangman Page was apparently going to be positioned in NXT. The other guys would have been on the main roster. It's also only, 4 or 5 guys? It's not really an invasion. It sounds very, I don't know, shock the system-y.
Yeah, despite all that, I would have loved to have seen it. I know they're going off and they're doing all this exciting stuff with AEW and, invasions typically haven't gone that well when it comes to WWE. But, Jesus Christ, those names coming in and invading, I think my head would have exploded.
The moment when they debuted as a group could have been Nexus-esque. It could have been amazing. It could have been one of these great debuts and these great visuals that we'd be talking about for decades to come. But like the Nexus, they'd have wrecked it.
I was going to say, and the way they finished that storyline could have also been Nexus-esque.
Yeah, it would have ended like the Nexus storyline ended in Kenny Omega getting buried, literally buried under a pile of chairs somehow by John Cena, and it would have sucked. It would have been cool to see what these guys can do in WWE, cynicism aside, but I think they're almost certainly better off doing their own thing in AEW.
Indeed. Speaking of things that could have been cool to see, a match has been teased for this year's... Oh, God, Nicholas has got his head in his hands.
So did half our audience.
Has been teased for this year's WrestleMania that could be absolutely epic. It was teased on Twitter yesterday by Bayley, basically following Elimination Chamber, where, of course, Bayley and Sasha Banks became the inaugural Women's Tag Team Champions. There has been rife speculation on who they're going to face, who's their first defense going to be against, and who they're going to face at WrestleMania. They announced they're going to be defending the belts on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. Loads of people have already been challenging them over social media. We had Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai suggesting they'd love to face them.
Both of them are injured.
Yeah. We had Alundra Blaze hinting at a sort of classic match. But the big match that's got everyone excited was Bayley hinting at a match between her and Sasha Banks and Trish Stratus and Lita for the Women's Tag Team Championship matches.
They've been watching our show.
Tag Team titles even, at WrestleMania. Yeah. That would be epic.
They've been watching the news.
Yeah.
Very nice. It would be fantastic. Not necessarily from a technical standpoint, but the spectacle. You want spectacle at WrestleMania. You don't necessarily need these 4.5-star work rate epics, blah, blah, blah. It's pantomime. It's a big show. And Trish in the Women's Royal Rumble in particular and Evolution proved that she can still play an audience like a fiddle. She's a master conductress, if you will. Lita was less convincing in the Royal Rumble, but very good again at Evolution. They're both over as hell. Man, that would be so much fun. And let's not forget Sasha and Trish in that Women's Royal Rumble, that epic stare down they had in the middle of the match.
Yeah.
I really want that match.
I'd much rather them do Nia Jax and Tamina at Fastlane and then at WrestleMania a big banter match like this. It all came from Trish Stratus tweeting congratulations to their Boss and Hood connection following their win at Elimination Chamber, and Bayley quote tweeted it saying, "Are you and Lita ready?"
And you know what would be super cool is if the night, 2 nights before a takeover, if they did them versus Sane and Shirai. Get the work rate itch scratched on one night, and then the pantomime itch scratched on the Sunday night. Very nice. Anyway, speaking of WrestleMania, Buddy Murphy, one of the best in-ring performers in the company over the past year. He's without an opponent at the moment. He's beaten pretty much everyone. Yeah. He has murdered all these little nerds, and he is comfortably the best thing on that brand. So,
not that you'd seen it, because they always put it on the pre-show.
Yeah. Wow, they really hate that guy, don't they? It sucks. Drake Maverick on last night's 205 Live, which you probably watched, I'm sure, he announced a new Cruiserweight tournament. So we are going to have 8 wrestlers doing battle for the right to face Big Bad Buddy at WrestleMania 35. This is kind of in line with what WWE did last year when Enzo Amore himself out of the company. They found themselves without a champion. They held that awesome tournament with so many good matches. I remember in particular Drew Gulak versus Tony Nese just blowing me away. Either way, The matches start next week, and I have the first two here for you. They are the Brian Kendrick versus Drew Gulak, a potential big favourite here in the WhatCulture office, and Tony Nese versus Kalisto. So an interesting couple of matches there. Obviously, we've yet to hear if the likes of Gran Metalik, Humberto Carrillo, Cedric Alexander, perhaps the more viscerally exciting performers in the division will be involved. You'd have to assume so. But this should be fun, right? I mean, it all but guarantees fun in-ring action leading up to WrestleMania.
Yeah, do you think there could be any sort of surprise entrance in this tournament? Or do you think it's going to be from the current pool that they've got and just, chances are it's probably still going to be on the pre-show at WrestleMania?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I hate to say it because I like 205 Live. It's really well booked and the matches are always good. But I feel like a surprise would be wasted because people just don't care about this show, unfortunately. And WWE don't do anything to make people care. So no, I don't think there'll be any surprises. I think it'll be the core roster. But I could see a surprise winner, like Humberto Carrillo, a personal favourite of mine, and Adam Nicholas's, has been killing it lately. That'd be a lot of fun.
That'd be great. That, Drew Gulak. Eric Bugenhagen, anyone.
You see the size of that man?
Well, have you seen the size of Buddy Murphy? He's clearly not 205 pounds.
This is true.
Finally, speaking of announcements, I have a huge NXT announcement to make.
Okay.
There's going to be a huge NXT announcement. Yeah, we don't really know exactly what it was, but WWE have tweeted out that a special announcement is going to be made on NXT tonight. We've no idea what it's going to be.
No.
JJ Williams tweeted it out, basically saying that speculation is rife about what this could be. Could this be relating to WrestleMania weekend? Could this be relating to the future of the company? What do you think?
I think, going off the top of my head, perhaps, thinking about some of the problems that NXT has, perhaps, maybe NXT's going to an hour and a half or 2 hours. The show's too short.
It's the only show I'd say that needs to be a bit longer.
It's mental because they produce too much content, but they have too many wrestlers. Adam Nicholas.
Could it be going onto a TV spot, probably?
Ooh, now that's an interesting take. And certainly, NXT used to be on Sky here in the UK before they took it off a few years ago. Now it's only on the network. I can absolutely see that. Absolutely see that. Because TV networks are just hungry for content, and this is more content.
And arguably, WWE incredibly could have looked at the reaction that they got on Monday Night Raw with the NXT call-ups and gone, yeah, the NXT guys need a little bit more TV exposure.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Devil's advocate, before we conclude. I don't think this is going to happen, but given that they've kind of just called up 20 people to the main roster over the past couple of months with no real direction and no real clue what they're doing, could NXT be closing?
Please.
I don't think it will, but interesting thought. Tell us about that in the comments.
Let's move on now to your Twitter questions. You can tweet them at us at WhatCultureWWE. Our first one today comes from William John Smith, who says, do you think that The Undertaker versus Aleister Black would be a good match at WrestleMania?
Potentially. I'm not as sold on Aleister Black's potential as an Undertaker-esque figure as a lot of people are. I think he's great, don't get me wrong. But I think, like we discussed yesterday, perhaps the Undertaker, if you want to do the passing of the torch match, I think Demon Balor is probably a little bit more compelling. Obviously, that's complicated now because Balor has the Intercontinental title. You're probably not going to have the Undertaker wrestling for the Intercontinental title. Or, like we discussed yesterday, a safer pair of hands.
Takers are going to be appearing at StarCast 2, of course. I'm going to be interviewing Conrad Thompson and chatting about that very soon, so keep an eye out for that. We learned that he's still under WWE contract. He's just been allowed to do some other dates and what have you. Do you think he's going to have a match at Mania this year?
I do not. Obviously, we speculate on stuff like this every single year. This year, it does kind of feel like the end already. Let's
move on to another question from the Midnight Writer. This is relating to Kofi Kingston getting that title shot at Fastlane.
The Midnight Writer.
They say, do you think WWE will put the WWE Championship on Kofi Kingston as a way to dissuade unhappy talent from leaving the company?
Man.
Basically as a way of saying, look at Kofi. Yeah. He waited a decade for his moment. Yours will come one day.
You know what? I don't think they should do that because that's how you devalue championships. However, I can absolutely see them doing that. This is probably why the Revival got the Raw Tag Team titles, right? Because they asked for their release. It's probably why Andrade, up until last night when he jobbed out, was getting that little push. I can absolutely see them doing this. That's a really good take. Because what better carrot could you dangle in front of people that want to leave than go, hey, look, this guy got a title and he was a tag wrestler for a decade.
2 weeks ago, he was, not unknown, but virtually forgotten about as a singles wrestler.
Yeah, he was like a guy who never wrestled singles matches, and now he could potentially be the man.
Look at that crowd reaction as well. I'd love it. Final question today comes from Ness. Thank you for the lovely bald photo as well, Ness.
Good. Bald gang, bang, bang.
Put it on a t-shirt, get it out there. Ness says, do you think they should go back to the big 3-4 pay-per-views and fill in the gaps with tournaments rather than just segue pay-per-views? An interesting suggestion.
A very interesting suggestion. I love tournament wrestling, as we've just discussed with the Cruiserweight. I love all that stuff, the Mae Young Classic, the Cruiserweight Classic, all that, King of the Ring. Love it, love it, love it. I think if you do too many of them a year, you risk burning the concept out, however. So I think they should be careful. I would be fully on board with the Mae Young Classic being an annual thing. I would be fully on board with King of the Ring and maybe one more.
Queen of the Ring?
Queen of the Ring? Yeah, there you go. Bang, done, free. You don't want to burn the concept out. You don't want to do like 7 a year. But yeah, absolutely. Replace some of these stupid filler pay-per-views with something more interesting.
But yeah, I think if you went back to the big 4, for example, there'd be too big a gaps. We already watched WWE spin their wheels enough, but don't go the opposite way where they had a pay-per-view every 2 weeks, was it, when it was?
2017, there were several periods where I wanted to die.
Right, let's move on to today's and finally, Andy Murray. Aside from friend of the channel, Brian Alvarez, who is our favourite person who works at the works with Wrestling Observer Radio?
Shagger Dave.
Yeah, exactly. His name is Dave Meltzer, aka Shagger Dave, and he clearly watches the news because he was only reinforcing that stereotype over Twitter. Basically, he was asked by a fan why he didn't rate HBK versus Taker at WrestleMania 25 5 stars. He said, because I've been watching a long time and I've seen numerous better matches. The fan responded, I was at that match and it's probably the best memory in my life. So Dave Meltzer apparently read that and thought he wants to know about my best memory in my life. So Dave Meltzer responded,
I've heard this before.
Mine was my kids being born, getting awards, sex with people who should be left unnamed, and Fry versus Takayama. Shagger Dave.
Shagger Dave.
I love you.
That is an absolute classic. Meltzer on Twitter is an absolute gem. He's just arguing with dummies all day. He's posting dumb stuff like this. I remember, I can't repeat it because it has nasty words in it, but this thing about messing with his family, and if you mess with my family, you are F-U worded.
Yeah.
He's a gem, man. You know what he is? He's like this crazy old man completely lost in this new digital world. He has no idea how to transplant his insight and knowledge into tweets that are actually readable. I love Dave so much. He's a delight.
Final question for you. Do you think Dave Meltzer's star rates intercourse? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below to that and all of today's news stories. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Plus check out our podcast by searching for WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes or Spotify. You were going to say?
Shagging star ratings.
There
Good.
you go.
7 stars.
7 stars. You broke the rating system.
The Tokyo Dome.
Happy anniversary, dear. Right, thank you very much for watching. My thanks to Andy Murray. We will see you soon.
Wow. Sorry, Dave.